everybody. Welcome to the Homemakers Podcast. We are here today to talk about some more non-Hallmark holiday films from this year. We're talking about 2 Lifetime films and 1 film from Ion, and it's going to be really fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and today we have Kerry Frances here with us. And Kerry, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I love this podcast.
Well, we found out about you through Twitter.
Yes.
And you had said something on a thread about how you would just love to come on the podcast. And there's nothing we need more, especially during the holidays, than guests to come on. And so I said, sure, hey, let's do it.
Yes, I love that. I think it's so funny because I've been on a lot of podcasts this year, and none of them are related to, like, there's a few Hallmark or Lifetime or made for TV type movie podcasts, and none of them were in that category. And I found myself tweeting, like, what the heck? How am I not on any of these podcasts? I am like made for this. So
Oh, well, we're excited. Well, why don't you take a second, introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure, of course. So I'm Kerry Frances. Like Rachel said, I'm an actress, a singer, a voiceover artist, and I am currently in the hit movie Knives Out, which is pretty much available anywhere, but it's definitely on Amazon Prime, which I know most people get their movies on Prime or not. And that was such a big blockbuster hit of a movie that now I get to do cool things like be on podcasts and do interviews and things like that.
Yeah. So how did you end up getting the role in Knives Out?
It's, I think a short story and a long story. I'm in like musical theater, New York theater, commercials and voiceover, all of that. But I've always wanted to do movies and TV. Years ago, I made a friend. I met a friend out of nowhere, and that's the writer director of Knives Out. And he's been watching me work now for like 10 years. And I was in and out for the movie before this, which was the Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. And so I was in and out of callbacks for that. And then that didn't end up happening. And so when this movie came around, he said, you know what? You're not right for any of the roles that I wrote. So I'm going to write you a role. And it's like it's like a TV movie in and of itself, right? It's like a dream come true story. But I always preface it by saying, like, no friend, no matter how great of a friend, would ever say, hey, come be in this $40 million studio, major, gigantic film with all these famous people just because I like you, So I always preface it with a decade, of him watching me work and putting in the time. So
yeah. I wonder, because your IMDb, because they don't include like stage work and some stuff like that, and so I was like, is this her first role? How did she end up getting that part? And so that's very interesting to hear. And so you met Rian Johnson.
When I was doing a decade ago. Yeah. I was doing a big tour, and I had a night off, and I went to the movies, and he was there, and neither of us lived in Texas, and and he was showing one of his movies, and that was that. We just, we're of the same people. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great story. And so you have done a lot of stage work?
Yes. Yeah. I've done quite a bit since I was little. And like you said, it's really different. You go to someone's IMDb and you're like, who is this person? Do they even have a career? Like, but yes, I've been working, I booked a really big Broadway tour right out of college. And that was also with big fancy names like Harvey Fierstein and Topol, who's this very famous theater actor. And commercials don't go on there. Voiceover doesn't go on there. Recordings don't go on there. So yeah, I'm like a 10-year overnight success.
Right. Yeah, that's what they always say. Every overnight sensation is 10 years in the making.
Yes, definitely. And I will say, even though it's not my first job, it's my first movie. And so to have that be, most people do like a student film or they do a low budget indie. So to be thrust into that, that's really like a dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So what's your favorite? I'm a huge Broadway buff, by the way.
Oh, yay!
So do you have a favorite Broadway role that you've been able to do? A favorite musical role?
I would say because of that tour, I have a really strong soft spot in my heart for Fiddler on the Roof.
Mm,
I played one of the youngest daughters in that, but
uh-huh.
I really love the musical In the Heights. I really love anything Lin-Manuel touches, of course, like all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would love, love, love if I could still play the oldest daughter in The Sound of Music. That would be one of my dreams.
Oh, Liesel. Yeah.
Yes, to sing that classic 16 going on 17. Oh, dream come true. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have our dreams someday of having a Hallmark musical.
Oh my
They we
gosh.
got dancing this year, so we're getting closer every year.
Every year a little more, and it was so exciting
Yeah.
this year to see Laura Osnes in a role
Hmm.
and to have
Yeah.
Yvette on Hallmark. And
Jeremy Jordan.
yes, they're definitely circling each other, and I love that. I know for a long time it's been so divided where you couldn't even do like commercials or any on-camera work if you were a theater, musical theater type of actor. So
Yeah, it's merging, which I like to see. That's been one of the best parts about this whole season. I mean, as horrible as it is to have Broadway closed, it's
mm,
been a gift to Hallmark and us Hallmark fans to be able to see all these Broadway performers. Ali Stroker on Lifetime,
mhm.
her movie was so good, and all of that has been really fun
Yes, absolutely.
to
I
have.
I agree with you, and it kind of relates to the first movie we're going to talk about with
Mhm.
pivoting and having big changes.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Well, yeah, let's dive in. We're covering two Lifetime movies as the main part of this podcast. And so the first one is A Christmas Exchange. And this, like I said, was on Lifetime. This stars Lara Vandervoot and Rainbow Sun Franks. I think is how you say it.
Yeah,
Sorry if I
I think so.
said it wrong. And it's this holiday season, Molly Cooper swaps her snow covered farmhouse for Patrick Kensington's posh London apartment. While enjoying Christmas time in the UK, Molly begins to look forward to every communication with Patrick. Likewise, Patrick finds Molly's warm emails and texts charming and compelling. Sparks fly between them as they get to know each other and fall in love as they live in each other's spaces. Coming home for Christmas Day, Molly is greeted to a new life and a new love.
Mhm.
So, what was your overall thoughts about this movie?
I actually really loved this movie, and I was a little hesitant because it does give me like the holiday vibes
Yeah.
of course, house swapping, one to the UK and one to the States. And so I did have a little judgment, I'm not going to lie, before I started
Uh-huh.
watching it. And then I started watching and I just thought, oh, this is going to be one of my favorites from the whole season. And I think that's definitely true.
Yeah. So, I liked this way more than I expected as well. You definitely kind of get worried, is it going to be, really derivative of the holiday. I mean, and my favorite Hallmark movie is Trading Christmas, which also has that same kind of
Yes.
swapping houses thing. But it was really charming, and I think they did a very good job of pulling this off, considering they had someone going to Connecticut and someone going to London, and neither of them were in either of those places.
Right. Right. Definitely.
that I think most of it was filmed in Ontario, so that was pretty
Yes.
impressive.
Oh my gosh. Everything, so much of Lifetime and Hallmark is filmed in Canada.
Right.
Let me tell you what, I get so jealous as an American actor. I'm always like, I just have to get famous enough to be able to do these Christmas movies as an American actor. I think that all the
Yeah,
time.
I know. It's true.
Yes, yes,
Um,
great point.
yeah, I mean, because most of it was inside, and so that's how they were able, and then they used like a lot of stock footage of London and stuff like that to make it work. And I guess, according to my friend Michelle, she said that some of the stuff was shot in Glasgow, that she'd read that or something. But I think most of it was in Ontario, and so I don't know. They did a very good job of of kind of pulling that off, I thought, considering what they had to work with. And the director is Justin Dyke, and I actually have interviewed him, and he does a really good job with these movies. And this was definitely an acquisition. Both of these were, for sure. So they weren't like made by Lifetime, but he does a good job, I think, making these movies on a very low budget, but making them charming and fun. And so I had never seen either of these two actresses. I know that Lara Vandervoort, that she has Vandervoort, I don't know how you say it anyway. I'd seen her in Smallville, I guess. I've seen that, and I think she did a Disney Channel movie.
Years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm. But she's not somebody I'm super familiar with. It seemed like people on Twitter were a lot more familiar with her than I am.
Yeah, I agree. I checked out both of their Instagrams. I checked out everyone's Instagrams that were part of these movies, of course. And I'm always so shocked when I've never heard of someone and like clearly hundreds of thousands of people have,
Yeah.
So that was,
Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. That's the Disney one. I actually just reviewed that for over on my other channel for Halloween. But she isn't somebody I'm super familiar with, but she was on Smallville. She played Kara on Smallville, Supergirl on Smallville. So I knew her a little bit, I guess, from that. But anyway, she's done a bunch of shows, so that's probably why she has sort of a following. And so she was really cute. I really liked her. She did irritate me towards the end, but for most of the movie, I liked her. And then he was very charming, and I am unfamiliar with him as well.
Yeah, same here. I was and even just looking at his name, I was like, I feel like I would definitely know this name. I would know this person. And the same thing, he clearly has a really strong following and has obviously a career, in his
it looks like he's done a bunch of shows. I'm looking at his IMDb. He was on the Umbrella Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other things. So that's probably, if you get on enough shows, people start to kind of recognize you and go to cons and stuff like that. So that's probably why. But I liked him. He was charming throughout. He was probably my favorite character in the film. And overall, I just found it breezy and pleasant and sweet, and she was frustrating towards the end, but I could forgive that, I guess. Overall, I enjoyed it.
Yes, there was a point where she was like, "Okay, girl, don't kick him out of his own house because let's get it together here, Molly."
So she finds the list that she made as a child of her dreams. And it starts with number 1, go to London. Number 2, find her dad's childhood home. And number 3, marry a British man. So that is quite the list for a young child to have.
Yes.
And especially the find my dad's childhood home. I don't know that many kids that are interested in that, but she finds the list. She's very excited. She also is a huge rom-com watcher, and she's watching Christmas with a Prince, which is actually not a Lifetime movie. So that's part of the reason you can tell that it's not that this is an acquisition.
Right.
Because this was on Up Channel here, Christmas with a Prince, and I think, and it's also directed by Justin Dyke. It's Christmas with a Prince, and they had a different name in the movie. It was something like Christmas with the Buckinghams or something like that. I forgot to write that down. But she gets super involved in this movie. She loves it.
Yeah.
And she's crying and she's super, super into it. And I mean, I think that's something all of us Hallmarkies can relate to.
Oh,
Getting real
absolutely.
involved.
Yes, definitely. And sharing it with her grandmother, like that they
Mhm,
both loved it so much and had an emotional connection to it.
mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can remember, oh gosh, with I mean, not as much with my mom, but with, like, my girlfriends and my friends and my sister watching, romantic movies together. I mean, a little bit with my mom, but my mom's not a huge movie person, but I there's all these movies that I kind of put under the label of what I call sleepover movies.
Yes.
They're movies I would watch with my girlfriends, and they're usually kind of dopey, but they're romantic movies, something like The Cutting Edge, Dirty Dancing. Girls just want to have fun. Usually, they involve some kind of dancing of some kind, romance or ice skating.
Yes. Yes, like
As good.
13 going on 30. That's what I
Yeah, that would have been one. Back in like the 80s, 90s, Some Kind of Wonderful, that was definitely on the list. Uh, and I can relate to her character, and she kind of reminds me a little bit of the character in Austin Land, but I'm not a big fan of that movie
mm,
because of some of the choices that the script makes. But the uh the whole idea of kind of just being a hopeless romantic movie lover. And of course, you've got all the Nora Ephron films that I loved, still do love, uh, with Sleepless in Seattle and movies like that. And
yes, those are my go-tos for sure. But
yeah,
my
mhm,
all-time favorite is While You Were Sleeping.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. And we're gonna have a lot of fun on the podcast. We are actually for our New Year's episode, we're going to be previewing New Year's new movies and
Oh.
talking, yeah, and talking while you were sleeping because it's kind of a New Year's movie.
Mhm.
For next week's episode on Wednesday, and we're going to have Greg McBride, screenwriter, and who's the best. And anyway, so that's something to look forward to. Actually, going to be watching that, and I just watched another good one that's kind of like that. I just watched Last Holiday, and we reviewed it with my friend
Oh,
Samantha.
that's so good.
That one is underrated. That is a good little rom com, and so I don't know. I liked that in the film, and she wants to marry a British man, and so she decides that they're gonna swap houses, and he decides he just needs a break. He's just overworked, but he's got kind of writer's block. Is he gonna write? He's always wanted to write a novel. And so they swap houses. He goes to Connecticut. She goes to his lush London posh apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And and she forgets to leave the key under the mat, which was pretty funny because she leaves all of these notes, these post-it notes, all over the house, but she forgets to leave the key. That
Yes,
made me laugh.
yes. I wrote that down too. Especially the post-it notes. Like I love that part so much.
Yeah, it was so cute.
Yes.
I like that too. And so he has to crawl through the window, and then her dog is there, and
Oh, Harry.
yeah, and the dog is very suspect of him
Yes.
crawling through, and her friend was supposed to pick up the dog, right?
Yeah, and I did write a note. I literally wrote on my little notes, stranger watching dog, I don't think so. Which is
Yeah,
it's just very me. Like there's no way I would let any stranger watch my dog Henry, and dogs are like so important to me that I love
yeah,
little Harry in this movie. He was a
he
cute
was a
extra
cute
character.
dog. Yeah, he really was. And so that was funny. And she's all telling him, she's like, it's not exactly an equal swap here.
Right. Yeah, heads up. My house is not
Yeah.
like your house.
But that starts their sort of texting back and forth, and we've seen earlier this season how that can work if you have it written well, that you can have the texting, like the people, you can build the chemistry, and make it feel like the characters are together even if they're not physically together, and
Mhm.
it would deliver by Christmas this year, and this kind of gets some of that same dynamic going. I mean, in this one, it's maybe not quite as much because that I loved that movie so much, but this, because at least in that one, they are actually physically crossing paths. They just
Mm-hmm.
don't know it. In this one, they obviously aren't physically crossing paths until the end, last act. But I still really enjoyed it, and they get to kind of see each other's lives. And so she ends up going to this publishing house, and she meets her favorite author. Jules is her name,
Mm-hmm.
and but she impresses Jules, and Jules hires her to edit and give her the millennial perspective on her new novel. And Jules is very cynical about modern love, about dating apps and stuff like that. She thinks that it's all lost its spark.
Right.
And I don't know, what do you think about Jules?
Jules was an interesting character. I didn't love
Yeah.
the character as a whole.
Uh-huh.
But out of everyone in the movie, she wouldn't have been like in my tops. But I thought that it was really interesting because Molly's got this perceived idea of what life in London and as a romance writer or what love looks like. And it's a good reminder that the conceptual idea is not always the real thing. And so even though I think it crushed her a little to find out Jules like didn't believe in the things she wrote about and it was all
Mhm.
imagination, I think that it really helped move her along in her growth.
Yeah, and she was over the top, but in kind of an amusing way.
Yeah.
I like it when these movies kind of are a little campy sometimes. They don't take themselves so seriously. And so I had her fun with her character. She was definitely ridiculous, but then on his side of over in Connecticut, he meets Jim and Andy, which are her friends, and they are hoping to adopt a baby. And that was really cute. I thought that whole
I
story.
got so excited because talk about things you love to watch over and over. Gilmore Girls is my absolute go-to. So seeing Annie Truesdale playing Andy, like
Uh-huh.
from seeing the second his name popped up on screen, I did a little like jump up and down. I got so excited because I just love
Mhm.
him as an actor and you don't get to see him in too many things other than Gilmore Girls. So
Right.
that was a bonus for me. And I loved the characters too. I thought they were a cute little couple.
Yeah, they were really sweet, and he's just like, "You're gonna have to drive."
Mm,
I and he's like, "Wait, I haven't driven in years," and I don't know. That whole dynamic was funny, and I would think my main worry would be like, I don't drive on the same side of the road as y'all. You
right.
sure you want me to drive?
Yes, yeah, I like that part.
That was funny, and so then the Molly goes to a party. She's still trying to meet her British gentleman, but she's just not impressed with any of the men in the party. Some of them try to get her drinks or talk to her. She's not interested. And so she ends up talking to the friend of her dad's that she had met, who knew him when he was younger. So she's kind of talking to this sweet old man instead of at the party. And so she talks the talk of being super kind of desperate in a way, but she's actually not in her actions.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
and so then he comes home early because his sister is getting married. And I thought that this next section was the weakest part of the movie, but uh, he's there, he sees his sister, and she says, "Oh, you've got to go after your woman, your girl, and you're in love." And I'm like, I think he probably could have, because it's not like she is leaving.
right.
I mean, she's going to be there for a while. So why not stay for the wedding and see your sister get married? That's the whole reason you came home.
Right. Yes, this is
And then Molly will still be there. And so I was just kind of like, wait, why does he have to leave?
yes, this is where the movie, I agree with you, took a slight turn, and there were a couple parts in this section where I was like, "What is happening right now? What is
Yeah,
going on?"
because then he gets there, he goes to his apartment,
Yes,
and he lies, and I don't really understand why he felt the need to lie. Because he says, "Oh, I'm just giving you your perfect British suitor, your perfect dates, your perfect whatever." But I don't understand why he couldn't have done that as himself, and why he started lying.
Right. I wrote down why Patrick, because I just could not
Yeah.
believe I didn't see that twist coming, and it seemed really strange. I guess I can understand when you really build someone up, or you really think this is the one, or got all these crazy notions in your head, and maybe also you're jet lagged. Like, I was trying to give him some credit that he was
Hmm.
just really, out of it, and so maybe he felt like he wasn't enough, but this made up character, Peter, could be exactly the right fit, but like he knew he was stepping in hot water. There's no way.
Yeah. Like, all of a sudden, the movie went from being The Holiday to being Pillow Talk, and I was just kind of, I don't know if that was needed.
Right.
and, and so then they go on some dates, which were cute, and then they kiss. And he's once they get to the kissing point, he's like, "Oh, I gotta fess up. I gotta tell," which was, I mean, you shouldn't have let it go on that long, but definitely once you're getting physical, no more lies.
Yeah,
That's
especially about your identity. I mean,
yeah.
a big lie.
Yeah. And so then she gets super upset, and I can understand getting upset, but when she won't even like have a conversation with him,
Right.
and I mean, because I think most people would be a little bit upset, but then they'd sleep on it and be like, "Oh, this will be a funny story that we'll tell people. We'll tell our grandchildren someday that we met this crazy way. Isn't that hilarious?" Like, if you really, obviously everything isn't made up, obviously, and once you'd have, if you were really invested in this person, you would have some conversations,
Right.
and you would talk it out, and you deal with it. And so the fact that she won't even answer her phone for a long time, and even all of her friends are like, "You are totally overreacting and being ridiculous."
Yes,
So
absolutely. And it's really interesting because she was such a go-getter gal. Like the way she stormed into that publishing house, and the way she
yeah.
went to London, and then really it turns out like internally, emotionally, it's like she was actually really scared and kind of immature. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it was an interesting added depth to her character, but it added depth to the story in a way that was a little like, okay, let's pull it together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I think I was invested enough in the two of them, and invested enough in her character, that I was willing to still, it wasn't a deal breaker for me,
Yeah.
but she was frustrating. It's like, come on. And so then the Andy and Jim get the baby, and that's when the whole driving thing happens, and it was so cute. I loved that part.
Yes, I agree. It was sweet.
Yeah. And so he tells her, "I was trying to give you the perfect guy, the whole London experience that you wanted." Then she's still mad. And so then he goes back. He'd gone back to Connecticut. That's why he was there for the baby. And she ends up getting a job working with Jules,
Mhm.
and heads back to Connecticut to get all her stuff. And it was so cute because Patrick had left all of these post-it notes all over the house, which was adorable. I loved that.
Yes, I loved it too. It was so cute.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they had pretty good chemistry. What do you think?
I think they did. I really liked those two characters, their chemistry, a couple as a whole, and the way they kind of
Uh-huh.
like wrote the characters so they balanced each other really well. I thought that was really sweet, and they seemed to just have a natural like flow and a natural attraction, and I could see them being a real couple in real life. I liked that.
Yeah, I did too. And so then they make up and they kiss at the end, and everything's all good. So it's so fun.
Yeah.
And so 1 to 5, how many stars would you give this?
I think I would give this like 3.5, maybe 4, somewhere in
Mhm.
there, 3.5, 4.
Yeah. I'm the same as you. I would also give it 3.5. but I did really enjoy it. I'd watch it again. It's definitely one I would be fine watching
I would
again.
too,
So yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I think it would be fun to watch with a friend, or I'll watch it with my mom probably.
And I think that if this Lara Vandervoort, if she wants to have a career doing these movies, I think she
Oh,
could.
absolutely.
I think she is a good fit for these films.
Yes, yeah. It's
So
surprising she's not already one of the most go-to people for
mhm.
these movies. Yeah,
And it
I know what you mean. Her type just seemed to really.
yeah, there's sometimes you can just tell that and then some people get in shows and they get in other stuff, and so then they're not they don't end up kind of pursuing it. But there's some people just like, if you wanted to, you could totally do this for
Yes, and
you have it.
how amazing,
Um,
because she really could probably do like a couple each year, and the
mhm.
way that
Yeah.
our favorites and our repeat actresses get
Yep.
to do them over, and that's a great gig to get. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. um, okay, so I'm just going to talk for a second about Bows of Holly. This was on the Ion channel, and this stars Jennifer Freeman and Johnny Picard, Michael Capone, and it's a woman proposes to her boyfriend who says he has to work things out with an ex before he can answer, leaving her to take a romantic sleigh ride alone with a sympathetic driver. So that's not a very good description of this movie. um this movie, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a good movie. It's a very bonkers movie, and I think it kind of knows it is. It knows it's kind of crazy. And so it kind of has fun with it, and it's one of those movies that could easily be a horror movie if it wanted to.
Yeah.
Because yeah, her plans to propose don't go well, and he is and her boyfriend is kind of freaks out about it, and he ends up going back to his ex-girlfriend, and he goes to her house, and she is not hardly into Christmas at all, and her and her mom and dad are on their phones the entire time. Like, it's kind of funny. They're just like staring, and he's just like, what is this? This is not Christmas, And so and he'd been kind of critical of her for wanting to go to this like Christmas town, and she'd purchased this whole sort of Christmas town package with all these different stuff that they were doing, and there's a sleigh ride, and they go to Snowman Land, and all these different
Snowman
things.
Land.
Yeah, Snowman Land. Although I was kind of disappointed at Snowman Land because it seemed to be just like 2, 3 snowmen. It wasn't what I would consider a land of snowmen. But and so she meets this guy who's the sleigh driver, and he helps her. He's really nice, and he helps her find a place to stay. And anyway, and of course they end up kind of becoming more attracted to each other. And then her boyfriend comes back because he's so disgusted with the with the ex and the non-Christmas people. He's so disgusted with them that he goes back to her. And so then it becomes this weird love triangle movie with these two guys, and then she and they get kind of snowed in at a certain point, and they're making cranberry and popcorn popcorn strands and decorating the tree, and it just like very easily this weird love triangle thing could in this cabin could be a horror movie, but it's not. And I thought it was funny. It was self-aware enough. I enjoyed it. It's not all the acting is the best. It's definitely low budget, but it was pretty entertaining. So I'll give it 3.25 stars for Bows of Holly on Ion Channel.
Cute.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about A Christmas Break. So this stars Cindy Sampson and Steve Byers, and this was school teacher Addison Tate wants this Christmas to be special for her kids, especially since the school board has decided that it will be the last as the school will be closing. So overall, what did you think about this one?
I like this movie. I think that I liked it just slightly less than Christmas Exchange, which we just talked
Hmm.
about. But it won me over by the end. I felt like at the beginning was a little slow for me to hop in with. I liked the premise and I liked the idea of this Hollywood star coming back home. I thought that was really cute. Um, and it was, another cute story with a lot of fun. I liked the community, the town, and the characters that came with the story a lot.
Yeah. So this one, normally I am not a fan of Save the School movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't like, this wasn't like my favorite movie, but I thought it was watchable because I really liked her. I've never seen this actress before, this
Yes,
Cindy Sampson, and she was really good. I thought she did a great job. And I thought that she was very sweet, and there were enough sort of sweet moments, and it felt reasonably authentic to me the way that these people were talking. And I loved her and Phil, English teacher Phil. I almost wish the whole movie had just been about them.
I would watch that.
Yeah. Like it's just been about them in the school. Even though I don't like Save the School stories, for the most part, this one I thought was executed pretty well, and I really liked I really liked Phil. He was great, and uh, Steve Byers, I think he was miscast as this like super hunky,
Okay, yeah,
whatever movie star. Like I don't ever try not to comment on people's looks or anything, but he's very sweet and great, but just not what I picture. Like I think probably somebody like he just feels like he'd be better as sort of the sweet hot widower kind of, you know what I mean? More the like
the
boy next
dad.
door kind of dad kind
Mm-hmm.
of a look as opposed to the hunky movie star kind of thing. And I think that if someone like Chris Paloha had been in this
Mm-hmm.
role or Peter Porte, I think that would have maybe been a little bit more of a fit for the role, but nevertheless, he did a good job, I think, with what he had to do, and I liked their chemistry pretty well together, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you across the board. I did have
Yeah.
a little bit of a hard time with Steve Byers playing this role, and I had to look him up because I felt like I hadn't even seen him in anything else. It
Uh-huh.
turns out in the end I did. There were a couple Christmas movies
Yeah.
that I definitely have seen him be in, and then the same thing with what was he in? He was in The Christmas Cure, I think, and
Yep.
Catch a Christmas Star. I had that.
Hmm.
And then I really, really liked Cindy Sampson. I felt like
Yeah.
this character was someone totally in real life, definitely relatable. I loved her specific coffee order, how she was so particular about the things in her life.
Yeah.
I loved that there was a couple coffee moments where people just knew her so well and they knew what to get her. And I think that really was a sweet little thing. But yeah, I loved that character. I thought they had okay chemistry. I just had to really go with it when it came to
Yeah.
believing that this guy was really this famous, kind of like maybe like
Agreed.
Matthew McConaughey's like second cousin, like
Yeah,
maybe
I
he could
agree.
have gotten there.
Yeah, if any, I mean, it would almost have been easier to have believed that she was the movie star and he was the like
Oh
teacher.
yeah.
If they had swapped it, I think it might have been more believable.
Yeah,
But nevertheless, the movie had enough good stuff in the dialogue and the situations to overcome that. And it's not like he was bad. It was just
sure.
not who I would picture for the role. And so they they start out with I loved her assistant Judy. Did you like her? She was
I
so
liked
funny
her
to me.
so much. I had to look her up because I couldn't believe I've not seen her in anything. I think she's a terrific
Yeah,
actress, but the character was
yeah,
so cute. She just like told
yeah,
it like it was, and I'm
yeah.
just there for her friend.
And how about her eating that entire thing of cinnamon rolls? She's like, "We're sitting down. We're eating these cinnamon
Close
rolls."
that door. She was wiping that pan.
Yeah, close
Yeah.
the door. That was so funny to me. I was like, "Wow!" And so she tries to contact. this movie star that she used to date, Dylan, and she just keeps getting answer machine, answer machine, answer machine, and we can definitely relate to this but it's more on the email side of we're trying to contact the agents or the publicists, and I liked when Phil says that oh, he's shooting a pilot is just is
A lot.
yeah, it's just a line. Like, oh, I feel like we've heard that before.
Yes, I can't imagine. And I know that feeling. I definitely have reached out to
Yeah,
plenty of industry and not heard anything. I loved her determination when she was like, oh,
yeah,
like 34 times or something. I would never do that. That was
yeah.
awesome.
I told our co-host Anne, she handles all of the bookings
Mm.
and for all the things, and I'm like, you'll be able to relate to this, won't you? And sometimes it can be pretty hard to get in contact with, particularly the agents or the publicists, and to finally get an answer of what's going on, and it can be challenging.
Yeah.
So I definitely related to that. That was really fun. And so she keeps calling, and then they finally they get a hold of them, and he agrees to do the play. And he's like, I recognize your voice. How are you how are you doing? And immediately you can tell that he is interested in her, I think, very early on. And I think that they did a good job with that, of even from when he hears her voice, you see that kind of the interest in him, which I
Yes.
like.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something so real about that, that the people that you knew in your childhood or maybe dated a little in high school or had a relationship with, they have a little bit of an extra effect on you, even as an adult.
Yeah. And I thought that the dialogue in general in the movie was pretty authentic to how you would talk
Yeah, definitely.
to people. And so he's also really good with the kids. I thought that all the sections with him teaching the kids was very cute.
Yeah, I thought it was really cute. And I thought the kid who played the lead boy was such a cute little actor. I really liked him.
Yeah, he was
And
cute.
and
Yeah.
just knowing these kids are filming this movie in a pandemic, like that, I just blew my
Yeah,
mind that they were able to keep doing it.
me too. And so her dad owns a Christmas tree lot, and he is great at making waffles. Did this movie make you want to go and eat a bunch of waffles?
100%. I wanted coffee and waffles
Yeah.
so much.
Excuse me. And yeah, and he's like, I haven't had a carb in years. He's eating waffles.
Yeah, he was
That
cute.
was
I like that
funny.
character too. He was a cute
Yeah.
character.
And so then Monique comes into town, his ex, who's writing this tell all about him.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
so she was definitely kind of a little over the top character.
Yeah, she was a lot. I mean, it was a fun character, but she was a lot to have come
Yeah.
into the movie and into the town.
Yeah, she really was. And so then, just kind of smooth things over, because Addie's mad that Monique is there and everything, and so he gets her a Christmas tree for her house,
Yeah.
and because she hadn't had time, she's been so busy with the school and everything, and they start to decorate it with outdoor lights. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on? Like those like outside icicle lights,
Yes.
they were even white. Those do not go in a Christmas tree.
No, they do not. And maybe Dylan doesn't know. Like, Dylan, has he ever done a Christmas tree in his adult life? I
Like,
don't
it
know.
looks so weird. I was like, what is happening? And those go on the outside of your house. They don't go on a tree.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like, it looked so weird.
He looks so
And
weird. Yeah.
it wasn't even like a thing. It was like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a part of a joke or something. It
Like a
was,
bit. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it was if this was the right way to decorate a tree. And I just like, what are they doing?
Right.
They're ruining the tree.
Right.
Yeah, so that was crazy. That was bizarre. And so then Addie gets the tabloid name of Hometown Homewrecker.
Hmm.
And the school board puts her on administrative leave for that. I thought that was a little little
It was
strange.
a little unbelievable. That I feel like that wouldn't happen in. I mean, yes, the PR thing would. Yes, the name would. But being on leave for that seems
I don't think that. I feel like that's not legal.
no,
It's
no.
for something in your personal life that is totally not associated with the school in any way.
Yeah, no, that didn't seem like it made any sense. And it almost was like, are they just trying to get rid of her because she's doing so much pushback to
Yeah,
school?
that's what I thought. I think she could sue them. And so that was weird. And so then they set up a GoFundMe for the school because there's little hope. And then Dylan gets the acting role, and so he's gonna have to leave, and he feels really bad. He talks to the kids, and he says to Addie, "I will stay if you want me to stay." And she says to him to go, which I kind of liked because there wasn't that grudge of you left without telling me, or you left and you care about your job more than the town. No, like she was a reasonable human and was like, you have to do this job. Like you have to work for a living. Sometimes these movies seem to forget that like people need to work for a living. I
Yeah,
think.
like she was a grown adult character.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And so she tells him to go, and then she speaks before the school council, and they get it on tape.
Hmm.
They end up losing, and so they think it's going to close, and then they have a little play, and that was so cute.
So cute. And that little Santa came out. And,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it was really sweet. I like that scene.
Yeah. And so then it turns out her speech has gone viral, 4 million views. And then he finds out that he doesn't, that he's going to take off some of his pay in order to push things back a week so that he can stay in the town.
Yeah.
And they have enough to cover everything. Everything's saved. It's great. And yeah, I mean, so the plot of this is nothing special, but I just liked the writing. I thought it was solid, and I thought that I really liked the side characters, Phil, and and her assistant was really funny to me, and I liked her a lot. And I would definitely see something with this Cindy Sampson again. I thought she did a good job in the role, and so overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a really cute movie. I'm not sure I would necessarily pick to watch it again over some other movies this year that
Mhm.
have come out, but I think that it was totally relatable, and there was something very
Yeah,
sweet about like the simplistic nature of the town and of the movie as a whole. And I actually was reading a little bit about it, and one of the production companies behind it said that this was like one of the very first movies to go back to set after they went through their first
oh, interesting.
lockdown. And I thought that was maybe part of the simplistic nature. Like maybe they were still figuring things out, and maybe some scenes had to be changed, or
Yeah,
people had to be cut. And but yeah, I liked it. I liked how they both had their teammate. You know, he had his manager, and she had, well,
it
she had,
was good.
yeah, and it was cute. And I like when the town feels kind of like a character, like a little
Mhm.
special.
Yeah,
I'm from a town like that originally, a really tiny town where everyone knows everyone, and there's a gazebo and everything's lit up, and it's very relatable to me. I think when I see a small town movie, which is all of most of
yeah.
the movies.
But there's no excuse for those Christmas lights. That was so bizarre.
No, it was, and you know what? Maybe the prop department really had a bad experience, and they couldn't find the lights they needed. They just grabbed whatever, because the rest of the decorating that she was doing in her apartment was really cute, and it was
Yeah,
it was fun to see her having a little fun, like doing something for herself.
right. Yeah. No, that's true.
And then
And
those
she
are,
made those little cookies, sugar
yeah,
cookie ornaments, which I thought were cute that
yeah,
she did.
I really like
Yeah.
that.
So I give this one 3.25
I think I'd give it a
stars.
3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It, so there we go. That is our thoughts on these movies. So thank you so much for coming and talking about them with me. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun to get to know you, and If people want to follow you on social media and all that stuff, how can they do that?
So they can follow me on Twitter as Carrying On, which is what I've always had it as. And then on Instagram, it's Care, K-E-R, and Bear, which is my dog, Henry Bear. And that may or may not change soon, but if it does, I will redirect everyone.
Okay, yeah.
Easy
Great.
easy.
That
Yeah.
sounds good. Well, we'll have that in the description. Make sure you're all following Kerry. She's a lot of fun. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. And if you were listening to the podcast on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really, really appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We also have our patron group, which we have lots of fun perks. So if you've been thinking about becoming a patron, please do. You're not going to regret it. We also have our merch store, which has tons of fun looks. And so check that out. And thank you again very much for coming. And we wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.